The boy's fork clattered to the floor just as Emily set down the milkshake. She flinched, not from the sound, but from the way his hands trembled, how he struggled to grip the utensil again without looking up. His legs dangled motionless from the booth seat, and his wheelchair was pulled just slightly away from the table, like it didn't belong. She bent to pick up the fork before his mum could reach for it. "Got it," Emily said softly, offering a quick smile as she placed it back on the napkin. The boy still didn't look at her. "It's okay, sweetie," the mother whispered to him. "You're doing fine." Emily hesitated for half a second. The boy couldn't have been more than 10. His posture was stiff, his shoulders tight with something between frustration and shame. Emily had seen this kind of tension before. At this job, you noticed things. Which kids were just tired, which ones were scared, which ones wanted to disappear. She crouched slightly to his eye level. "Hey," she said gently, "your milkshake's got extra sprinkles. Not because you ordered it, but because I messed up and added too many. So if anyone asks, just say it's a VIP shake." The boy's lip twitched, the smallest flicker of a smile. Emily stood again. The mother, early 40s, composed but tired, mouthed a thank you. The lunch rush was dying down. Booths were half empty now, the kitchen noise fading to a hum. Emily refilled ketchup bottles, wiped down counter edges, then found herself glancing back at table 7 more than once. The boy was trying to lift the burger. It was clearly too big for his hands, but he was determined. His left arm strained, uncooperative. A tremor ran through his wrist. Finally, he gave up, setting the burger down with more force than he probably intended. His mother quickly tore it into halves, saying something softly. The boy nodded, biting his lip. Emily looked away. She'd worked here for almost 4 years. Tips were okay, the manager decent, the AC moody. But moments like this was the part that got to her, not because it made her sad, but because it made her want to do something that mattered, even if it was small. So when their check was almost due, Emily walked over with a to-go bag and slid it discreetly onto the booth table. "What's this?" the mother asked. "Just something for the road," Emily said. "A slice of our chocolate cake. No nuts, no worries. It's on me." "You didn't have to," Emily shrugged. "I wanted to." The boy finally looked up. His eyes were sharp gray, curious. Like maybe he hadn't expected kindness to show up without strings. "Thanks," he said, his voice barely audible. And then the mother gave her a look, something between appreciation and hesitation, like she wanted to say more, but didn't. That night, as Emily closed out her shift, her co-worker Angie handed her an envelope from under the register. "Guy came in 20 minutes after you clocked out. Asked for your name, left this." Emily opened it. Inside was a folded napkin. On it, a short message. "You made a hard day better. You have no idea how much. BW." There was $500 in cash beneath it. Emily blinked. "What the hell?" "Who was it?" Angie asked. Emily just stared at the napkin. She didn't know. Not yet. But the boy's eyes, those gray eyes, they suddenly made sense. If you've ever been touched by a small act of kindness, share it in the comments below. And if you want to follow stories like this one, hit that subscribe button. There's more to come. Emily sat in her car with the napkin in her lap, headlights from the parking lot striping her windshield. The letters, BW, were scrawled in quick, slightly crooked ink. It didn't mean anything to her at first. But the $500, that stuck in her chest like a brick. She'd never had a tip over $40 in her life. She grabbed her phone and Googled celebrities with initials BW. Bruce Willis came up first. She laughed out loud, shaking her head. "Sure, right, like that makes any sense." Still, she clicked his name. First image that loaded. Him, smiling, gray eyes piercing the camera. The same eyes she'd seen in that little boy. Her breath caught. Emily wasn't someone who got starstruck. Living near LA meant you saw famous people from time to time, usually hiding behind sunglasses and oversized coffee cups. But this felt different. Because if it was Bruce Willis, then that meant the boy she helped today was his son. She scrolled further. No recent photos of the kid. Paparazzi hadn't snapped him in years. Maybe the family kept him out of the spotlight. Emily stared at the image again. She could see it now. The same angular jaw, the same faint furrow in the brow when deep in thought. She turned her phone off and sat in the silence, not because she was excited, but because the realization made her realize how little she really knew about anyone who came into the diner. The next morning, she arrived early, checked the booths, straightened the menus, reset the syrup bottles like always, but her mind was elsewhere. Earth to Emily. Angie was chewing gum, eyebrows raised. You okay? Yeah, just didn't sleep much. Because of the envelope? Girl, I would have slept on a mattress made of 500s. Emily cracked a smile. You think it was really him? I mean, the initials fit, and that's his kid, right? The one who's had some kind of neuro thing? I think I read something a while back. Emily nodded slowly. He struggled to hold a fork. Angie leaned on the counter. Well, you were good to them. That's what matters. Emily said nothing. Later that afternoon they came back. Same booth, same mother, same boy. Emily tried to play it cool as she walked over with water glasses. Welcome back. The mother gave her a tight, grateful smile. The boy looked up. He was wearing headphones now, fidgeting with the cord. Hi, he said simply. She nodded. Good to see you again. Let me know when you're ready to order. As she turned away, the mother called softly, Emily? Emily stopped. Thank you for yesterday. It meant more than you know. Emily smiled. I'm glad you came back. The shift went quietly. They ordered light. No special attention, no hint of their real identity. But something had shifted. Near the end, while clearing plates, Emily leaned in toward the boy and whispered, That milkshake special still on the secret menu. He grinned. Back behind the counter, she turned to find Angie staring. Okay, Angie whispered. I just Googled something. Bruce's youngest son, Dylan, 10 years old, diagnosed with cerebral palsy. Emily didn't say a word. She didn't have to. All she could think about was how someone so public had chosen to hide in plain sight, and how all it took was one moment of kindness for the truth to start surfacing. And it made her wonder how many other lives brushed past hers every day, completely unseen. 3 days passed. Emily checked table 7 every shift, like it had become part of her routine. Clean the syrup bottles, refill the coffee station, glance at the booth. Empty. Always empty. She told herself it didn't matter. Maybe they were just passing through. Maybe they didn't want to be found. But on Saturday morning, during the lull between breakfast and brunch, they returned. This time there was no milkshake, no burger. Just coffee for the mother and toast for the boy. Simple. Bare. Emily approached like normal, not wanting to act any differently. Morning, she said, placing their order on the table. You've got perfect timing. We just pulled the sourdough fresh. The mother looked up. Her sunglasses were still on, even indoors, but her voice was steady. I hope it's okay we came again. Of course it is, Emily said genuinely. It's good to see you both. The boy picked at his toast, one hand steadying the plate, the other trying to spread jelly with slow, careful strokes. Emily fought the instinct to help. He was trying. She respected that. I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself properly last time, the mother said after a few minutes. I'm Emma, and this is Dylan. Emily nodded. Hi, Dylan. He looked up and gave her a tiny salute with his jelly-covered knife. Emily laughed. That's the best greeting I've had all week. Emma leaned forward slightly, voice lower. You probably figured out who we are. Emily hesitated. I did. Emma sighed, her posture softening. It's been hard. Not just the diagnosis, but everything that came with it. The media, the speculation. Everyone wanting a statement. I can't imagine, Emily said quietly. He just wants to be a kid, Emma continued. Go places, eat toast, drop forks, not be Bruce Willis's son with cerebral palsy. Just Dylan. Emily nodded. Well, here he's just the kid who likes extra sprinkles and toast with jelly. Emma smiled at that, genuine and grateful. They sat a while longer. Emily didn't hover, just checked in when needed. When it came time to leave, Dylan stood slowly with his mother's help. He looked at Emily and said with no warning, "Do you know what my favorite part of the week was?" She shook her head. "Your cake," he said. "And your face when you lied about the milkshake. You're bad at lying." Emily laughed. "I'll take that as a compliment." Emma reached into her purse and pulled out a slim envelope. "Please," she said, handing it over. "This isn't about money. I know that. But Bruce wanted you to have this. It's not a tip. It's a thank you. From us." Emily took the envelope with both hands. I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything," Emma said gently. "Just keep being the kind of person who notices." They left. The booth sat quiet again. Later, in the break room, Emily opened the envelope. No cash this time, just a folded card. Inside, written in neat black ink, "There's a reason some people are invisible, and there's a reason others choose to see them. Thank you for being the second kind." "Bruce," Emily sat with the card in her lap, tears rising before she could stop them, not because it was from someone famous, but because someone saw her too. On Monday morning, the first camera showed up. Emily was restocking sugar packets when Angie burst into the kitchen. "There's a guy out front asking for you," she said, her voice tight. "Press badge, local paper." Emily's stomach dropped. "What?" "He said he's not here to make trouble, just wants to talk about, the note, the kid." Emily wiped her hands and walked out, heart pounding. The man was maybe late 30s, dressed casual but sharp. He lowered his sunglasses as she approached. "Emily Parker?" he asked. "I'm Travis Bain, Pasadena Weekly." She folded her arms. "How did you know my name?" He gestured politely. "Someone saw your story on a neighborhood Facebook group. Said you were kind to Bruce Willis's son without knowing who he was. It's going viral." Her breath caught. It wasn't a story. It was just lunch. "I get it," Travis said, "but it means something to people. You did the right thing when no one was watching. Would you be willing to talk about it?" Emily glanced around the diner. The thought of telling the story out loud made her chest tighten. It wasn't about her, it never was. "I'd rather not," she said finally. "They came here for privacy. I don't want to be the reason they lose it." Travis nodded. "I respect that." He reached into his bag and handed her a small notebook. "If you change your mind, call me, off the record even." I think the world could use more stories like this one. As he walked out, Emily saw something she hadn't expected: restraint. That night, she drove through the quiet side streets of Altadena, windows down, cool air drifting in. She didn't turn on the radio. Her thoughts were too loud already. She replayed Dylan's words in her mind. "You're bad at lying." He had no idea how true that was. She'd grown up invisible in her own house. Parents distracted, brothers loud, teachers indifferent. No one really saw her until she was old enough to walk into a job and prove she could do more than survive. That's why Dylan had gotten to her. She saw that same quiet tension, that same hunger to be treated normally. Not pitied, not praised, just seen. The next day, a woman came into the diner around noon. Mid-40s, elegant, clearly not from the neighborhood. She waited until Emily approached before speaking. "You're Emily?" Emily nodded, unsure. The woman extended her hand. "I work with the Willis family. Emma asked me to stop by." Emily's posture stiffened. "Is something wrong?" "Quite the opposite," the woman smiled. "Emma said you gave them something they haven't had in a long time. A place to breathe, to be themselves." Emily didn't know what to say. "She also said if you're ever looking for something beyond the diner, there might be an opportunity." Emily's brow furrowed. "What kind of opportunity?" The woman pulled out a business card. "There's a non-profit, works with children who have disabilities. Bruce and Emma support it quietly. They think you'd fit." Emily took the card slowly. A tiny non-profit, quietly backed by one of the most private celebrities in Hollywood, and they thought she might belong there. The woman leaned in. "We see people like you too." And with that, she left. Emily stared at the card. She had no idea where this was going. But for the first time in years, She felt like she wasn't just waiting tables. She was stepping into something real, something that could change her life. The nonprofit's office was quiet when Emily arrived. Tucked in the hills near Pasadena, it looked more like a cozy craftsman house than a workplace. There was a painted wooden sign near the walkway that read, "The Willow Room, growing strength quietly." Inside, the walls were lined with artwork, scribbled crayon drawings, framed finger paintings, handprints on canvas. Emily was shown to a sunlit room where kids worked quietly at low tables. Therapists guided them gently, letting them lead. The director, a woman named Carla, greeted Emily with warm eyes and zero pretense. "Emma told me about you," she said, motioning for Emily to sit. "She said you didn't hesitate when her son needed kindness. That's exactly the kind of instinct we want here." Emily stayed quiet, taking it all in. Carla leaned forward. "We don't need experts with degrees. We need people who see what others miss. Would you be willing to volunteer for a trial run?" "Just a few days a week?" Emily nodded before she could think twice. "Yes, I'd love that." Back at the diner, the world didn't stop. Coffee still spilled, customers still complained, tips still came in crumpled 5s and quarters. But Emily moved differently now. Word had spread quietly, not through tabloids or headlines, but between people, customers who tipped a little more. Co-workers who asked how she was doing instead of what her shift was. A teacher who came in one morning and said, "I saw what you did. My niece has CP. Thank you for treating him like a kid first." The envelope with Bruce's note remained tucked in her locker. She hadn't told many people, didn't need to, but something had changed. One night, just after closing, Emily sat outside with Angie, their legs dangling off the curb. "You think you'll leave the diner?" Angie asked. Emily shrugged. "Maybe, not today, but I think I'm starting to see a way forward. Like this wasn't just a moment, it was a turning point." Angie grinned. "So what are you going to do, save the world?" Emily smiled. "Just going to keep showing up. One kid, one plate, one moment at a time." A week later, Dylan and Emma returned one last time. No sunglasses, no quiet whispers. Dylan's posture was stronger. He held the milkshake himself this time. Emily brought extra napkins without saying a word. Before they left, Dylan stood and handed her something, a hand-drawn picture. It was a booth with 3 people. One was Dylan, smiling wide. One was Emma, holding his hand, and the third was Emily, serving cake with extra sprinkles. Over the top, he'd written in blocky crayon letters, "Thank you for seeing me." She crouched, her voice caught in her throat. "You're a pretty great artist," he nodded. "You're a pretty great friend." Emma hugged her tight before they left. "Keep going," she whispered. "You're meant for more." And just like that, they were gone. Not with fanfare, not with flashbulbs, but with dignity, with grace, with gratitude. And as Emily turned the closed sign on the diner door that night, she realized something. Sometimes the smallest acts ripple the furthest, not because they're dramatic, but because they come from someone who chooses to see. If this story moved you, leave a comment about a moment when someone saw you. And be sure to subscribe, because the next story waiting on screen was chosen just for you, and you're going to love it.